All right, let's continue our discussion. Now we are talking about breaking the cycle. God's hand on Joseph's life. Breaking the cycle. God's hand on Joseph's life. The good news is that the cycle can be broken. Can I repeat that? The good news is that the cycle can be broken. Joseph had every reason to do what so many of us do. Well, what's that, preacher? What's the thing that so many of us do? So many of us continue to repeat the dysfunction that's in our family. Yeah, so many of us, we repeat the dysfunction that's in our family. He could have held on to his anger. He chose not to. Can I ask you, what are you holding on? What anger are you holding on to right now? He could have sought revenge. Look at his position now. He's second in command of all of Egypt. And you know, they were brutal in their punishment. He could have sent them to prison. He could have had them executed numerous ways. He could have had them escorted to the borders and let them go and starve out the rest of their days. He could have done a whole bunch of things too. And how many times have you I love to tell people that's when you're really delivered. That's when you know you're delivered, right? You know you're delivered when you stop praying those God get them prayers. When you find yourself because I know he said in Romans 12 that vengeance is mine, I will repay. I know that's what he said. But a lot of times, a lot of us really want to kind of accelerate the process, right? We want God to get. We want people to suffer the same way we suffer. He could have talking about Joseph. He could have sought revenge, but he chose not to. And he could have treated his brothers the same way they treated him, because they put him in a pit. He could have easily put them in a low place. He could have put them in a shallow place. He could have made them feel like they were buried. But now that Joseph is in this place, he realizes he was not buried, he was planted. But he could have treated his brothers the same way they treated him. But look how, if we could ever get to this place of peace, and the only way you can get to this place is when you know that you know that you know beyond the shadow of a doubt. You sure enough know. I'm gonna say it like we said in Arkansas. When you sure enough know that you are in the place of God, when you know that every perilous, problematic place on the path was part of the process and it was profitable because it has me where I'm producing now. When you know that, you don't treat people like you turn the other cheek. And I hear somebody, because somebody we were talking about this the other day, and one lady, she said, Kirk, I'm clenching my teeth right now because I got some people who did me wrong. I got some stuff that's happened in my childhood that I just can't forgive. And I get it. I understand. But true forgiveness is when you take the infraction and put it in a place where it's no longer a hindrance to you, when it's no longer holding you back, when you're not losing sleep or being affected medically by what's going on. That's when you're healed. Now, that don't mean y'all got to go be bosom buddies again. That don't mean you have to be friends. That don't mean you have to extend an olive branch as far as inviting them to Sunday dinner. No, I'm not suggesting that at all. But when you do get to the place where you can be cordial without your temperature rising, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. But anyway, when your temperature don't rise when they're around you, because you know what? which you can right there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a scar. I got cut. I got cut. I got cut. And the cut took place probably 20 plus years ago. And the scar is still there. The scar is still there, but there's no pain associated with it. And I know that some of us have scars from things that happened in our family with family members. And nobody's discounting that. I understand it happened. The infraction happened. Nobody is discounting that. And they deserve whatever they get. But let God get them. You don't get them. You let it go. Because, see, I want to have clean hands and a pure heart. It's the people I had to forgive. It was the people I was angry with that didn't even know that I was angry with them for what they did to me. They might have forgotten what they did. They might have forgotten what they did. But I'm still holding on to it. And truth be told, when the brothers threw Jacob in the pit, some of them wanted to leave him for the wild animals to come and to destroy. In fact, they wanted to unalive him. Somebody here has been left, and somebody listening has been left in a pit, in a low place. Nobody came to retrieve you. And you felt like you were sold. Because when you woke up, you ended up in a foreign place, a place that was not recognizable. And even there you thrive. Go on with your bad self. Even in the foreign place, like Joseph did at Potiphar's house, even in the foreign place, he could have treated his brother, but he understood that God had been too good to him, and he could not afford to be exacting revenge when God had given him so much grace. Joseph broke the cycle. You know how I know he broke the cycle? Because he said in his word, he said, "Fear not." Genesis 15:19. For am I in the place of God? You, brothers, what your intentions were, you meant evil. Thank you, Kennedy. Kennedy always helps me. That's my baby. Kennedy told us one time we were having a family meeting, and we were all, almost grown at this point. So we're, talking, and Kennedy said something. Kennedy had to be 19, 20. She had gone off to college. And Kennedy said something. She said, intention and impact aren't the same. You can have a certain intention, but it doesn't always produce the impact. You can have an intention, but it does not always produce the impact, the intended impact, right? In fact, Joseph said, your intention was evil, but the impact turned out to be good, because what you meant for evil, God meant for good. So you know what ends up happening? Joseph broke the cycle. And somebody listening now, it's on you. The ball is in your court. The baton, I'm passing you the baton right now. And it's on you to break the generational curse. How do you break the generational curse? Well, first of all, you recognize the pattern. Make a decision to be different. Let's unpack. Let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about recognizing the pattern. Let's talk about when it comes to recognizing the pattern, you can't heal or you can't fix what you won't admit. If you want to be fixed, you have to first of all admit that there is an issue. You have to recognize it visually, recognize the pattern, then make a decision to be different. What are you going to do different once you recognize the pattern? You know what Joseph chose to do? Joseph chose, rather than hold on to his anger, rather than seek revenge, rather than treating them how they treated him, Joseph chose to forgive. Joseph chose to forgive. Had they not placed him in a pit, he wouldn't have ended up where he was. and he chose to forgive. And then here it is. Let God's plan for your life be bigger than your history. Let God's plan for your life be bigger than your history. Where you're going is greater than where you've been. It gets greater later. God's plans for you, what's in front of you, is much greater than what's behind. And what you went through, and I'm going to say it like this, like I always do, what you have gone through, what you've groaned through, because it hurts, you also grew through. So let God's plan for your life be bigger than your history. Here's a final question for tonight. Here's a final question. What's one family pattern you are choosing to break? What's one family pattern you are choosing to break? Here it is. Put the answer in the comment. Here it is. Your situation won't change until you change. You are the one who breaks the cycle. If there's been dysfunction in your family does not determine your future. Your family history, the things you went through, no, that doesn't determine your future. In fact, 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, if anyone is in Christ, they're a new creation. In fact, the old things are passed away and all things are become new. Why? Because you're the one, my brother, you're the one, my sister, who breaks the cycle. You can break the cycle. It all starts with you. What's one family pattern? Put the answer in the chat.